Welcome to Carrion Creature Feature. I'm your host Carrion, and tonight I have a hypnotic tale of hidden secrets and sirens. With voice actor Bill L. and story by Shane Sellers, I present Inheritance.
My dearest grandson, as you hold this letter in your hands, you must know that I am no longer of this world. Time has finally caught up with me, and I leave behind a legacy both chilling and enthralling. A legacy I am burdened to pass on to you. In my will, I bequeath to you the large Victorian home that looms on the outskirts of the Outer Banks of North Carolina. It is a grand estate that overlooks an inlet of the ocean, surrounded by endless salt marshes. This house, with its secrets as old as the waves themselves, has been in our family for generations, and I have been its keeper for the longest time. Now, let me tell you the tale that has haunted my days and tormented my nights. The story of a beautiful woman who was more than she appeared. It was many decades ago when I, in the bloom of my youth, found her washed ashore after a particularly violent storm. The night was fraught with tempestuous winds and thunder that rattled the very foundations of our family estate. Rain lashed at the windows, and I could hear the crashing of waves against the shore as I ventured out into the storm. As I walked along the desolate beach, my lantern's feeble light barely cutting through the thick darkness, I stumbled upon her. She lay motionless on the sand, her form illuminated by the intermittent flashes of lightning. Her ethereal beauty was otherworldly, and her voice, it was a song that could make angels weep. This enigmatic woman was no ordinary maiden, but a siren, a creature of the deep sea, part fish and part something far more sinister. Her skin, pale and luminescent, glistened like the moonlight on the water, and her long, tangled hair seemed to be woven from strands of seaweed. But it was her eyes, deep and ancient, that held me captive. They were the color of the abyss, and they seemed to look straight into my very soul. Her melodies were like a drug, casting a spell of euphoria upon me. I took her into my arms, her body cold and clammy against my own, and carried her to the boathouse, hidden away from prying eyes, where I could tend to her in secret, for her songs held an irresistible allure, a hypnotic quality that drew me in deeper with every note. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself drawn to her, unable to resist her beckoning call. I would sit by her side for hours on end, my eyes never leaving her enchanting form. She would speak to me, her voice a haunting whisper, telling me of the depths of the ocean, of ancient sea creatures, and of a deity known as Dagon. But the enchantment would not last. One fateful day, the groundskeeper, Enoch Vanderberg, a simple man who had tended our estate for years, vanished without a trace. My heart grew heavy with dread as I ventured into the boathouse, only to discover his mangled, half-devoured corpse hidden in the shadows. The sight was a grotesque nightmare, the stench of blood and decay overwhelming. I was horrified, my dear grandson, but the siren sang her hypnotic song once more, and my fear was replaced with an unnatural calm. She guided me to bury the gruesome evidence in the marsh, and I obeyed her siren call. It was as though I were in a trance, unable to break free from her hold. The shovel's dull thud against the wet earth echoed in my ears as I dug the grave. You must understand that I was not blind to the havoc this creature had bestowed upon me. In some attempt to make amends, I paid Mr. Vanderberg's wife a hefty sum of money and continued to support her until she moved to New York. I told myself that the horrible incident had to have been an accident, my mind playing out various scenarios. What if Mr. Vanderberg had startled the siren, or worse, tried to abscond with her? Perhaps he had attempted to assault her, not knowing her natural defenses were far superior to his. Weeks passed, and another disappeared. A young paper boy named Paul Thompson had ventured too close to the estate. I found a bloody femur bone beside the siren, and the horror of the truth washed over me. She was a creature of death, and I had become her unwitting accomplice, a servant to her sinister desires. To protect my dark secret, I forbade my wife Elma, your grandmother, and your father and Uncle Isaiah from venturing near the boathouse. However, suspicion gnawed at my wife, and she confided in our neighbors, the Smiths, about her concerns. Doris Smith, driven more by gossip than by true care, whispered tales of moonshine to her husband Richard, and together they hatched a plan. One fateful night, while I sat hypnotized in front of the siren, they broke into the boathouse, intent on blackmailing me with evidence of my supposed moonshine operation. The moon hung low in the sky, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. What they found, however, was a terror beyond reckoning. The siren, in all her terrible glory, stood before them, her eyes like twin abysses. Her body was both alluring and grotesque, with scales that shimmered in the faint moonlight. Her sharp teeth glistened, and her webbed fingers ended in deadly claws. She let out a haunting melodic wail that sent shivers down their spines. Before I could react, she moved with inhuman speed, her scaled tail slashing through the air. Blood sprayed across the walls as they screamed, but their cries were quickly silenced. I could hear the sickening sounds of flesh being torn and bones being crushed. With a sickening dread, I ran from the boathouse. When morning came, the siren had returned to her seductive song. The neighbors' bodies lay broken and lifeless on the cold, damp floor. She had devoured them, leaving behind only blood-soaked remnants of their ill-fated intrusion. For years, I kept the siren satisfied by turning a blind eye to her evil appetite. A vagrant or hapless wanderer who strayed too close to our estate would disappear. On some occasion, she would sink back into the dark waters to hunt for prey elsewhere. But she always came back to me. In return for my silence, she sang her bewitching songs for me, lulling me into a trance and erasing the guilt that gnawed at my soul. During hurricanes, she would gift me with treasures and gold from the depths of the ocean, cementing my unholy alliance with her. I tried to do good with this ill-gotten treasure. I invested in our town, became a pillar of the community, donated large sums to the church, and sent your father and uncle to the finest private schools. But money does not wash away sin, nor does it heal a broken soul. Time passed, and the siren remained unchanged, an immortal terror that haunted the dark corners of the boathouse. I grew older, my body weakening, but she remained eternally youthful, a cursed beauty whose origins were lost to the depths of time. As I lay on my deathbed, I know that I can no longer protect this dark secret. The siren's grip on me has never waned, and I fear that she will pass her curse on to you if you are not careful. I beg you, my dear grandson, do not inherit the curse that has consumed my life. Let the siren rest, and may she trouble our family no more. With the deepest regret and a heavy heart, your grandfather.
This has been a Carrion Creature Feature production. If you enjoyed our siren song, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell for more sinister tales. Until next time, don't dip your toes in the water unless you want to lose your leg.